What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you back on the channel. On today's episode, we'll be looking at the preparatory fabric finishes that yarns and textiles alike can undergo so that we as users can get the most out of them. We've done another video in the past where we've gone through the top functional fabric finishes that exist, and we went through them one by one. These are extremely important in the sportswear space, and anyone who's ever sort of gone into this industry will understand the performance aspect of a functional fabric finish. But today we want to discuss the preparatory fabric finishes, which is one of four key categories of fabric finishes. We have our preparatory fabric finishes. So this is the techniques that are applied onto the yarns before they're knitted or woven. And then we have our intermediate fabric finishes. We also have our actual aesthetic fabric finishes. So these alter the visual look and feel of the fabric. And then lastly, we have our functional fabric finishes, which not only alter the performance of the fabric, but may actually alter its usage altogether. So if you guys have ever been interested in textile technology and textile production, this is a great starting point. And we'll be running through the top preparatory fabric finishes pretty quickly. And hopefully you guys will have a better idea of what this industry has and kind of what these technologies can mean towards your final products moving forward. Hey guys, and welcome to Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you here. On this channel, we discuss all things sports fashion, graphic design, manufacturing, and technology. We'll discuss key topics, answer pressing questions, and provide actionable steps on starting your own product line. If you're interested in any of the above topics, stick around. You're in for a good one. The first preparatory fabric finish that we're going to be talking about in today's episode is going to be the sizing. So the process of sizing essentially is the process of applying a protective coating to the warp yarns. So the warp yarns in a knit or weave will go up and down, and the weft yarns will go left and right. We've done separate videos on this that I highly recommend you check out. But this is essentially intended to increase abrasion resistance. It's also intended to increase the weavability of the yarns and to help prevent breakage of the yarns during the weaving process. So it prepares the yarns to be woven in a very tight format, and it essentially helps to increase their durability and their lifespan. Also, one thing to note, this is a chemical finish. It's also a temporary finish. A temporary preparatory finish essentially implies that this specific finish is rated for X amount of washes. So over that lifespan, that wash will wear away over time, and essentially you will lose the benefits of this finish. Also, the sizing agent that's used highly depends on both the fiber size, and ultimately the spinning type done. So how the fiber is treated is going to be dependent on those elements. Next, we have the process known as Dsizing. Dsizing involves the breaking down of the size of the warp yarns during the fabric stage, so after the yarns are knitted or woven. This is essentially intended to increase the absorbability, the dyeing ability, and ultimately the printability of the yarns and the fabrics. This is a chemical process, and it is permanent, unlike the sizing process. Next, we have the process of singeing. Singeing is a pre-treatment intended to provide a perfectly smooth and uniform surface to the fabric, and this is done by actually burning off loose fiber ends and essentially creating a perfectly smooth and uniform fabric finish. This is a mechanical finish, so unlike the two before it, it's not applied using chemicals, using the heat and the fire. This is a mechanical and physical application. It's also a permanent finish. One thing to note are cellulose-based fibers are much more easily singed than thermoplastic-based fibers. So something like viscose or rayon is going to be much more ready to take on the process of singeing than something like nylon or polyester. Next up, we have scoring. Scoring is a pre-treatment that involves the usage of an alkali solution that is intended to remove natural and added impurities from yarns. These can be things like oils, fats, and even wax. This is intended for a better bleaching, dyeing, and printing ability. And again, this is a mechanical finish and is also a permanent finish. Next, we have bleaching. So bleaching is essentially the process of using bleaching agents to remove the natural fiber colors that you'll find in most colors. So something like cotton is not naturally purely white, it's sort of like an off-white. But before actually dyeing the cotton into its finished color, we'll apply a bleaching agent intended to completely remove any off-white color and bring it to a perfect white color. This creates a perfect canvas, and this is much better suited for the subsequent dyeing and actual printing processes that a fabric may undergo, and this will help to ensure more vibrant colors and more accurate colors in your finished goods. Next up, we have the process of mercenazing. This is one of my favorites and something that I actively look for when I'm looking at cotton shirts. A mercerized treatment is intended to increase the smoothness, luster, and absorbability of a fabric, and this treatment can either be applied during the fabric stage or the yarn stage. Finding a mercenized yarn is more expensive because of the foresight required, and it involves actually immersing these yarns in sodium hydroxide. This is both a permanent and a chemical finish, and it's typically applied to either cotton yarns or the fabrics made by cotton yarns. Next up, we have the silicone preparatory fabric treatment. This is a very popular treatment, especially in the sportswear space, and it involves a silicone coating treatment that creates a silky smooth texture that adds a protective and insulating property to the fabric. This can be applied on pretty much anything from a sports bra to a 3-layer snowboarding jacket. It is both a chemical and a permanent preparatory fabric finish. Last but not least, we have the softening preparatory fabric finish. This creates a sleek and a smooth surface fabric finish, and it's essentially intended to improve the softness and the feel of the fabric. Unfortunately, this is a chemical but also temporary process, so it does wear away over time, over X amount of washes, and it's a quick way for fast fashion retailers, very popular in that space, to increase or enhance the feel of a garment at a low cost. Well, that is a wrap, guys. That's been the top preparatory fabric finishes, and like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we have 4 key categories to discuss, of which we've already discussed 2. If you want us to discuss the other 2, the aesthetic and the physical fabric finishes, let us know in the comments below. Also, based on the fabric finishes that we mentioned in this video, if you guys have heard of any of them, let us know which you guys have heard of. And if you guys want to see more episodes like this, consider smashing a thumbs up. It really does help us out. It lets us get this video out to more people and encourage us to keep creating content. Thank you guys once again for tuning into this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.